Hi, my name is Vivian Cigarroa, and I am a Gear Up tutor. Today I will be explaining what an elementary school teacher is and does, and how to become one if you're interested in education. But first, I want to tell you a little bit about myself. Hi, so once again, my name is Vivian Cigarroa. I am a Gear Up tutor at Riverside Middle School. I graduated from Delaya High School in 2018, and I am currently a junior at the University of Texas at El Paso. My major is in early childhood through 6th grade education with a minor in Spanish. I'm hoping that after I receive my bachelor's, I become a bilingual elementary school teacher. Afterwards, I plan to go back for my master's in education leadership because I would love to work for administration and public schools. Then I will go back again and get my doctorates in education leadership as well because I do want to work at the university level and hopefully become a dean of a college and make an even bigger impact for students. So that are my goals, which I hope to achieve. Now, today we're going to be talking about what an elementary school teacher is and does, and the skills and the requirements to become one. So I really hope that the information here that I'm about to give you helps a lot and gives you a better insight on what you like to do. So let's proceed now. What is an elementary school teacher? Many of you may already have an idea of what they are since you had different teachers when you were in elementary school, but I want to give you a more general definition. An elementary school teacher is someone who is responsible of teaching and mentoring young children. They develop materials and projects that are appropriate to the age of the students, and they encourage children to learn and develop various skill sets. They educate children from kindergarten through 5th grade. Since some elementary schools include grade 6, they're also responsible for teaching those students. As many of you know, or if you remember when you were younger, you know that these teachers, they teach all core subjects, which is math, science, history, and language arts. Unlike high school and middle school, where there are teachers who are only responsible for teaching one subject, elementary school teachers must teach all of them. So I want to talk more about other responsibilities that elementary school teachers have, because some people may not know, but they have a lot of responsibilities, especially when they are teaching different core subjects, which can be a handful sometimes. So I wanted to just give you the basic ones. The first one is plan, prepare, and deliver instructional activities. So elementary teachers always want to have some type of activity for each of their lessons, just to keep the students also entertained and they are able to learn better. They must create lesson plans. So like any other teacher, whether it is post-secondary or secondary or special ed, you always have to have lesson plans for everything, so for each subject. And for elementary school teachers, it's a little bit more since they are teaching math, history, language arts, and science. And you always have to be prepared because each day can be a new thing. The next is create a positive and safe environment. You always want to make sure that your students feel that they belong in the classroom and they always feel safe. And you also want to have a positive attitude so they can learn to love learning and they can engage a lot. So it's very important you keep that in mind if you plan to become an elementary school teacher. The next one is meet course and school-wide student performance goals. So that means that state and district and the school, they all set goals for their teachers because they want their students to excel. So you always have to make sure that whether it be by a certain grading period or by the end of the year, that your students have met those goals that were set by the state, the district, and the school. Participate in ongoing training sessions. So all year long, teachers are required to go on trainings simply to learn how to become a better teacher. You always have to keep learning. That way you always deliver great content to your students and always make sure that they're understanding what they're doing. so you will be responsible in attending training sessions. An elementary school teacher keeps parents, guardians updated on their child's progress. It is very important that you always have communication with the parents or guardians, because if the student, for example, is struggling during your class, maybe they can help at home as well. And not just that, but it's very important, that they know how their child is doing, whether they're doing very good or they're maybe struggling in something. It's very important. That way there's help all around. Utilize curricula that reflect the diverse educational, cultural, and linguistic backgrounds of the students served. So by this, I mean that you're gonna have students with different backgrounds in your classroom, and you always have to make sure that your lesson plans always include them. You don't always want to make sure that they never feel left out just because they're from a different background. You always want to utilize that and make them feel like they belong. Tutor students on an individual basis. So you will have students who maybe are struggling in understanding certain content. You also have to make sure that you set time aside to help those students individually, because they perhaps need like a one-on-one session in order to understand better. And this will help them succeed later on, and they'll be able to meet all the goals that are set. Observe and evaluate students' performance. So you always want to make sure that you are observing what a student's doing and how they're doing, and evaluate their performance. It's important so you know what you have to do better, for whether it be for your next lesson plan or if you should even move on to your next lesson plan. You always want to make sure that all your students are on the same page and that they understand what is being delivered to them. So it's very, very important that you're always keeping evaluations. The last one is manage student behavior in the classroom by enforcing rules. So usually, and during elementary, you are going to have children who maybe get a little bit out of control. So you have to learn how to make sure that your classroom is always managed. You don't want to spend the entire time trying to get a student to be able to control themselves instead of teaching what you plan to do that day. So it's important that you make your rules very clear and that these students understand those rules. These are important skills that an elementary school teacher must have in order to be successful. Communication. Always make sure you can communicate with your students, parents, and any other faculty members. Instructing, making sure you know how to deliver lesson plans to your children so they could understand. Active listening, you always want to make sure your children know that they're being heard. Social perceptiveness, active learning, you're always learning as a teacher, always. Sometimes you'll even learn from your students. Dedication, creativity, you want to make sure that your classroom is full of creativity so they are motivated to want to learn. Patience, critical thinking, organization, conflict resolution. You will have situations where maybe students won't get along and you have to learn how to come up with solutions so they can all come together and be friends. And the last one is enthusiasm. You always want to come into a classroom with a positive attitude, always ready to teach your students so they can also be ready to learn, that they want to learn, and that they have a purpose there. Requirements for elementary school teachers. So if you have decided that you do want to become an elementary school teacher, you will need a bachelor's degree in early childhood through 6th grade education. Also, depending on what state you want to teach in, you will need a teaching license or a certification. All states are very different in granting teaching license, because some will ask you to take a state exam or they will ask you to build a portfolio. A portfolio is where you put in all the lesson plans, all the assignments, all the activities that you did with your students during your student teaching. Or if you had maybe a job where you worked with children. You would also include recommendation letters from maybe teachers you worked with or professors, and then you will also include a video of yourself actually teaching to children. And in that way, that's kind of how they see if you should get your teaching license or not. But like I said, all states are very different, so it just depends where you want to teach, and from there you can go and do your research. The average salary for elementary school teachers in the United States is $59,000 right now. Now, since we live in Texas, the average salary is $57,500. In the United States, there are currently 1,392,660 elementary school teachers who are employed. In this video, we learned that elementary school teachers teach young children from grades kindergarten through 6th grade, and they teach all core subjects. The responsibilities and skills go hand in hand. So you always want to make sure that you have your lesson plans prepared for every day, you have communication with everybody, and you always keep a positive attitude in order to create a safe and enthusiastic environment for your children and help them engage in learning. The requirements is to have a bachelor's degree in early childhood through 6th grade education, and depending on the state, they do need a teaching license. And finally, their salary averages in the United States from $40,000 through $60,000. I really hope this video provided you a lot of information regarding elementary school teachers, and now you have an idea of what you would like to do when you go to college. Thank you.